Working on this film was not exactly what I expected it to be. Not in a bad way, but it was a lot more work.
I think the thing that makes this class very special and unique is Jeff and Bob really just are hands off. They're like, here are the reins, you know, we're going to pick our producers and then they're going to take over the class from there.
One of our goals was to approximate the environment that you would face if you got work in the independent film world. And I think the class does that.
That's one of the things that we try to talk about early is kind of forget about the kind of academic credit and all that kind of stuff. And this has to be a passionate thing that you're doing and that you're willing to give time to.
We are really on our own for a little bit too much of the film, and that's exactly what they want, because they want us messing up and they want us learning from the mistakes, and then they're there to make sure we don't repeat them.
You didn't do an easy film. You didn't do a two-person film that takes place in a hotel room. What you chose to do was hard.
So everyone came in with a story idea, and Carly brought up this idea of, you know, tackling mental illness from an outsider's perspective.
You act like it's so easy. I can't make him do anything he doesn't want to do.
The original pitch was about a group of friends, and it all revolved around the fact that they were dealing in some way with mental illness. So that was the genesis of the mental illness that remains in our script.
There was too many ideas and too many storylines that I wanted to commit with that just couldn't be done in 30 minutes. If there was one thing that stayed true to my idea, it was the focus on the person closest to the mental illness.
Because it's like a real story that I feel like a lot of people can relate to. And I think the story about mental illness itself has been done before.
The three of us, Colin Riley, Carly, and myself, it couldn't have worked out any better. I mean, we all contributed in our own way, and it was a great working relationship. I couldn't have asked for two better people to have to write this film with.
That first week of, you know, getting to know each other, getting to know like how we wanted to write it and stuff, there was no topic off limits. You know, writers have to open up.
He doesn't actually have to go off his meds in order to attempt.
It's not an easy story to tell by any means. I'm really proud of the way we were able to tell it, but kind of wrapping our heads around, okay, how do we tell a story like this?
Dom and Ryan had this really great idea of bringing in counselors. And it helped me as a director kind of come to understand human beings who are in these situations, and it ultimately then helped me carry that over to the actors and helped, you know, give perspective from people who've been there before and perspective of people who've been in the shoes of Mason and Sophia before.
If there is unattempted suicide, does the hospital keep that person and have them under watch, like maybe against their will? Is that something that happens? How long would they keep them? Is that something we should be considering?
It's a mess.
They totally opened my perspective even further than it already was. I remember like immediately when they wrapped up, I looked at Colin and I was like, we got stuff to do.
You're towing that line between what is cinematic, what is good story, what is entertaining, and then what is honest. Because what's always honest and what's always truthful and what's always real isn't always that great of a story. It doesn't come off that great on screen, it doesn't come off as cinematic. So for us to try to walk that line was incredibly important.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, you guys too.
It was like really weird because I didn't know what to expect because I never like auditioned for anything before. Like this is it. And I like walked in and I didn't expect to see like all these people in there. I was like, oh, there's a camera too. Like, this is weird.
Oh, I'm excited to see this one. I pulled this guy off the street.
I found him, please. He was just sitting by himself at a table, and I asked him, what are you doing? Like, what's this all about? It was my first time ever auditioning, though, for a camera or being in front of a camera.
I wasn't able to actually make the audition, so I sent in a video recorded audition. And so I had an hour lunch break, and I read over my lines and whatnot, and then just did a couple of takes sitting in a park in my car.
Maze.
Yeah.
I love you.
After the audition, you know, it's easy to compare yourself to everyone who's there. And so that's like discouraging when you first think about it. And so to get that call back was kind of like that little push, you know, like you can do it. And knowing that you're getting closer to it was super, super exciting.
Is it okay that Mason is out of the hospital so soon?
Riley. I loved doing the group auditions because normally you're by yourself. So it was interesting coming back not once, but twice for callbacks and being able to actually work off of other people the whole time too.
During callbacks, we set up sort of this like bracket of people that we wanted to see together to see what couples had chemistry, which ones didn't, based on our own assumptions. And I think we got to a point where it was more picking pairs than it was picking individuals.
Margaret, scene 33, triple C, 55, take 3.
It was definitely a little rocky at first. The expectations were so high, so when something went wrong, the need to get it fixed was just so high in demand, like it needed to happen.
First day, practice shoot, ran into some problems with time coding and jam syncing and other technical shit like that.
It was a lesson for all of us because that was so relatively early in the production process. It was kind of a wake up to us, like, we need to be prepared when we go into these locations.
I think the test shoot, more than anything, really solidified us as a group and let us figure out how to interact with and how to better work with everyone.
Yeah, how tight is the shot? Are we seeing the kitchen at all?
We're just seeing the counter on it.
As a DP, when I first started, I tended to be really hands-on, and that doesn't leave much room for, you know, the camera operator to offer up suggestions and to, you know, make my thoughts or my visions better.
While Peter was usually the one setting up the frame, you know, and working with Amy on the lighting, Kim was the one shooting it.
Camera department, or as we affectionately call it, Cam Fam, was a fun time.
Working with Peter and Kim was a new experience for me because I actually hadn't previously worked with them. And I'm not really used to working with other people with the camera. I'm used to just sort of running and gunning by myself.
Being a camera operator is a lot of fun. In some sense, it's kind of easy, or I guess it kind of comes to me, but it has difficult moments because when you're doing some very complex movement, it's really about precision and timing and making it right every take.
I really enjoyed working with Kim because she loves to make sure she gets the shot right.
How do you feel about that last shot?
I feel good, now I feel put on the spot. Okay.
We figured out that Jeremy's strength was in focus pulling, and Kim was really good with the dolly.
Being able to do the movement on my behalf and the focus pulling on his behalf made for some really cool shots.
A favorite shot of mine from the film would definitely be our soup scene, especially that pull away shot. I think that shot is probably one of the most well-composed and beautifully lit shots in our film, and I would definitely applaud Amy, our gaffer.
The soup scene was the most fun to light because, I mean, this is going to be weird. I'm so sorry, Trevor, but your face is great.
Thanks.
Angular people make for great lighting subjects.
I liked working with her. She did a lot. Without her, the film would not look nearly as good.
You look at a shot, she redecorated the majority of the house that we shoot for Mason and Sophia, so everything that's there is specific. She picked everything by a certain color and because it belonged there, and then she would light the scene herself. You can feel the mood as soon as the scene starts.
Okay, move down. Now up. You need to angle it. Tilt it. Yep. No, tilt it.
For me, it was very experience oriented. So at the beginning, I'd walk into a room and I'd be like, okay, based on, you know, what I've been taught by other people and based on what I've seen, this is what I believe. And then sometimes that'd work, sometimes it didn't. And every time something didn't work, I then reworked how it was I approached new locations. The poor Collins went through a lot for me as grips on this film. They would have to stand out there with their gloves, you know, 3 sets of gloves, 2 sets of coats, and they would have to hold the light and pretend to be the moon for 4 hours.
How's it going?
It's gold.
Let's do Roomtown.
Let's settle, please. Quiet for Roomtown.
Out of all the audio positions for recording on set, I had by far the easiest, right? I didn't have to hold up any boom. I just had to sit there and press record and listen to make sure it didn't sound terrible.
Hello? Okay.
Touch of the button.
Due to the fact that we were shooting in a narrow alleyway for a lot of it, there were very few positions where we could actually have boom ops.
Well, I definitely thought I was going to get swole after being a boom op. Didn't. That was kind of upsetting.
That was the one where Carly and Caitlin really pulled through and were able to move with the camera and with the characters. We had to choreograph it a bit, but we were able to get it smooth to the point where they could stay out of the shot but still be close enough to get good audio.
Strangely, I think that some of the most memorable moments that happen on set are the things that we don't anticipate.
Hey, there's a leak in the ceiling.
One was almost literally an act of God where it started raining and the roof of the building we were in was leaking and there was water dripping all over and we had to like put buckets down.
All right, folks, we have until this fills up to panic. We're going to take a shot now.
You know, there's nothing better than having a leaking ceiling and watching Nick Hayes' face look up and realize there is nothing we can do.
Let's get a shot. It'll be great. I love my job. Let's go.
Someone on set, and I'm not going to name names, but someone drank some of that water on a dare, and it was hilarious. Good times.
Off the record, who was it?
Carly.
There's like old ladies on the road at 3 in the morning.
I know. So we were shooting the final scene in the movie in Eaton Rapids, and we planned it all out the day before, ready to go, nothing's wrong. And we show up the day of, and there's just fog. As it gets later and later, more fog, and it's to the point where we can barely tell where the characters are.
For lighting purposes, it was beautiful because the fog, you know, it's kind of like the whole dust in the air. It creates stuff for the light to reflect off of.
You know, that fog, I think it really was a blessing in disguise because it made some of those shots look so cool.
The fog just made it so like eerie and quiet and lonely. When Mason, you know, leaves her in the street, it just felt so just like empty.
Everybody learned something on this film, and I think that should be what we take away into the real world of filmmaking. You can't always control all the things on set, and you know, trying to control everything is just going to make you crazy. So being able to step back and let things happen, but learning how to react to those things, I think, is a very important thing that I learned in this class, and I think that other people learned as well.
All of you. The minute I walked into the apartment building, I heard everything.
I like it.
I'm really attracted to editing because it's kind of like piecing a puzzle together, especially this film, because it definitely went through some changes from the original script to our picture lock.
For the most part, we were editing individually. We would get together for editor meetings with Stuart, and so we would get feedback there. And then once it was getting down to crunch time, we had a lot more like sit-in editing sessions.
We got to know each other real well while editing because it's pretty much just both of you in a dark room staring at a screen for hours on end.
Where's Mace? That totally works.
You know, once it gets into our hands, we get to play, and then we get to start having fun, and we get to start, you know, breaking some rules, and we tried, you know, rearranging some scenes or cutting scenes out entirely, because you really have to look at everything that you've done with a really critical eye.
I just fade away.
It was really cool being like an on-site editor and see everyone's reactions.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow, you're welcome.
I'll be there. Sienna and I actually talked about that. That was a moment for us where we were just like, we got cast in something really cool.
Translating that into our finished product and what we have now was definitely, it was a lot of fun to work on.
To the kind of a message to the class, like, thank you guys. I couldn't have asked for a better group of people and really talented, and I know everybody's going far in this class. I know it.
Hello, I'm still Nick Hayes, and while you're watching the credits of everything and everybody who made this film possible, enjoy a few clips of me dancing. Good night. Thanks for coming.
I had this idea, came to me in a haze. I watched time pass by like it was just a phase. It's a song that keeps me whole, like I'm never, never letting you go, because I miss you when you're gone. 'Cause I miss you when you're gone. We're so lonely. We're so lonely. We're so lonely.
Okay, Quinn, this is the one time you get to be in the behind the scenes video.
I know,
Do you have
right?
something to say?
For once in my life, I feel important. Normally, people tell me to go away because I'm just in the way. That's all it is.
Why is this guy? Is you just making this whole thing about you? I hope this part makes it into the bloopers.
Oh yeah.